welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics Podcast. I am your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure, as always, to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments, follow me at Rafi the Realtor for all of your South Florida real estate needs. Would love to be of assistance. And today we have Rabbi Tovia Singer, as we discussed prior to recording. He does have a great head of hair, which isn't so common for Yidden. Unfortunately, we have great beards, but we lose the hair on the top. So I'm glad you're blessed in that department.
Yes, yes, thank you. And you're a realtor, and while I wish you a lot of success in your work, I understand that Miami real estate is doing well. However, I do encourage the Jews to consider moving to the land of Israel, because not because of Mamdani or anything else, but just a good idea. Anyways, great to join you.
It's absolutely my pleasure. So I'm sure many of you have heard of Rabbi Tovia Singer. He has conducted many religious debates. He's very matter of fact. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. And what we're experiencing now, especially with Iran, to me feels nothing short of biblical. And it seems that in the last 2 years, since October 7th, we've continued to push and work toward getting rid of our enemies, the major threats to Israel and the Jewish people. And in previous wars and previous conflicts, Israel so often quits when they're at the final stretch. And so give me your thoughts, Rabbi, on what the last 2 years symbolizes for you, especially now with Iran, with Khomeini being killed. What are you seeing spiritually?
You know, there's a passage in Ezekiel that you'll be very familiar with. We recited at a Passover Seder. We recited at a circumcision at a bris milah. B'domai chayi, you live by your blood. About 1,000 days ago, I'm here in Jerusalem. I happen to be in a bomb shelter, but that's where my studio is. But literally all hell broke loose. And it was, to give the viewers a sense of scale, Kristallnacht, which was the antecedent event of the Holocaust on November 10th, 1938. So Kristallnacht was like the fuse was lit. 92 Jews were murdered. Here we're speaking about a dark Sabbath day in which 1,200 Jews were murdered in a barbarism that none of us could have imagined. Like, we don't know each other, but I feel like I could speak for you in that until October 7th, you and I thought that the Nazis was like the worst, that was the worst possible level. And then we found out there were actually people who actually enjoyed it, not just pragmatically wanted murder Jews, but they actually want to rape us, burn us, and film it, and then call up their families and tell them about it, which was a whole different level. And one other thing I can say, even though you and I have never spoken, is that the people that we were on October 6th in 2023 will never be the same people again. Our nation will never be the same. And that triggered a whole series of events, a war in Gaza, and now it's an existential war because the most dangerous country in the world is gaining access to the most dangerous weapon in the world. And Hamas is shattered, not utterly destroyed. In fact, we're in the middle of a war that's in that region is on pause. The Houthis have been shattered, not destroyed, and they may act up any minute, literally. Syria, destroyed completely. The Assad regime is gone. Hezbollah, shattered, not utterly destroyed. In fact, in the last 48 hours, there's unfortunately been some rocket attacks from Lebanon, which until now hasn't been the case in the last few weeks. And Iran, which is the implacable enemy of the Jews. Its leadership has been wiped out, and Israel, with the United States, is at war to prevent Iran from acquiring the most dangerous weapon in the world. And you asked about what does the Bible have to say about this? And here's what the Bible speaks about a lot. So we're told explicitly in Tanakh that prior to the coming of the Messiah, there are a few events that must take place. So every year on the 15th day of the first month, I gathered for a Seder all of our lives, since our earliest memory was celebrating a Gula, redemption, at a Passover Seder. But the word Seder is strange because it means order. And in fact, there's 15 stages of events that we go through from Kadesh all the way to the end. So we're told in Tanakh explicitly that prior to the coming of the Messiah, there'll be a war. The Jewish people will have returned to the land of Israel, and God will strengthen them, and they will defeat their enemies. For those of you who want to read it inside, I so encourage you to read a chapter like Zechariah chapter 12. The whole end of the book of Zechariah, written 2,500 years ago, is all about the Messianic age. Read about it. It's very clear. You don't even need a commentary. You can pick up this chapter and read it. You'll know exactly what's going on. The nations of the world go to war against Jerusalem, and all the nations that come up against Jerusalem will be destroyed. Israel, in Messianic chapters, is called Jerusalem, or like Kimitzion to Torah, out of Zion go for the law, and the word of God from Jerusalem, Isaiah chapter 2. And then we're told in Ezekiel 38 and 39, so 38 and 39, for those who don't know, this is a part of the end of Ezekiel that's all about the Messianic age. In fact, from Ezekiel 34 until the very last chapter, Ezekiel 48, is all about Mashiach. All of it is. And whereas we're told that God is the true shepherd in 34 and 36, despite our sins, God is going to bring us back to the land of Israel, and there'll be a complete redemption. 37, the same thing. Ezekiel 38 and 39 move to a war that must occur before the coming of Mashiach. We're told explicitly for the reason for this war, and it's the end of Ezekiel 39, verse 21 through 29, and that is that the whole world will know that I am God. And we're told explicitly in Ezekiel 38 that the nation that will lead this confederacy of implacable enemies is none other than Persia, modern day, which is modern day Iran. That Persia will go to war against the nation of Israel. I can give more detail, but first there'll be an attack, and Jews who thought they were safe, had no bars, who had no gates. I encourage you to read Ezekiel 38, verse 8 and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, describe how God's anger will be enraged and Hashem will destroy them. And the end of 39 tells us that there'll be this war, Persia against Israel, and God will utterly destroy the enemies. And the reason for this war, and Ezekiel says something very strange, the whole world will be able to witness this war. And may I remind you, the viewer, that when Ezekiel lived 2,500 years ago, there was no internet, there was no newspaper, there was no mass communication. None of this existed. So somehow Ezekiel knows that the world will instantaneously be able to observe the spectacle. And the result of this war will cause all the nation will know that I am God, which is the essential feature of Mashiach, and all the Jews will know that I am God, all the Bnei Israel. And that's what we're in right now, with this very critical stage after, as you point out, an incredible trauma, roughly 1,000 days ago on October 7th. And we are right now in the midst of this war. And it's not a regular war, meaning it's not another battle that Israel had with Lebanon that went on, because that was not an existential war, the war in Lebanon. Here, Israel is fighting for its existence. If any of these ballistic missiles that come in daily, I mean, the sirens may go off in the middle of our interview, if any of them are armed with a nuclear device, God forbid, and make it through all the slingshots and the anti-missile systems, all the systems are in place. That's it. We're a very tiny country. To give you in the United States a sense of this, there are only 4 states in America that are smaller than the state of Israel. New Jersey is larger than Israel. I know people say it's the size of New Jersey. It isn't. New Jersey is larger. We're only 26,000 square kilometers, the whole country. Florida is much larger. If you want to travel from Miami to, Pensacola, forget about it. So there's a very tiny place, and that's what we're fighting for, our very existence. But we have a promise, and the promise is that the enemies of Israel will be defeated, and that is followed by the coming of Mashiach.
This is insane. So based on Tanakh, are you insinuating that Mashiach genuinely is around the corner? Because rabbis have been saying it for millennia, and it feels like it's hard for me to imagine. It's just hard for everybody to imagine. We all want it to happen. We don't know exactly well, maybe you have a much better picture of what that'll look like.
Hmm.
Do you see that? Is it
I-
in our lifetime? Is this in another five
right.
years, 10 years?
So, so again, I want to reiterate this for the viewers that you and I don't know each other, right? So just make this clear. We didn't prepare for this conversation. I
Right.
don't know where you're from, but I'm going to suggest this, and I have a feeling you're going to say you're right. If I would tell your great great grandfather, I don't know where they came from, but he wasn't in Florida, that's for
No.
sure. If you could go back in time, 120 years in time, a man you've never met, and say to him, let me explain to you, Zeta, Saba, what's going to happen. The Jews are going to return to the land of Israel, and they're going to defeat all their enemies. Yerushalayim is going to be liberated again. The majority of the Jews in the world will live in Eretz Israel, and they're going to speak the language of Hebrew. And the people of Israel are going to defeat all the enemies around them. What would he say to you? He would say
You're,
to you, he wouldn't say to you, Mashiach is around the corner. He would say to you, Mashiach is here. That's precisely right. Because when your great grandfather or my great great grandfather, for them it was around the corner. It's not around the corner anymore. It's actually here. We're in the Seder of events. We're in the order of events. Now, let me be very clear. Tanakh tells us explicitly, this is not like there's an inference or we using gematria here there's nothing mystical about this. The Jews must return to the land of Israel. Jerusalem must be in our hands. Nations must go to war with the Jewish people in Israel, and they're defeated completely. Persia, you know how insane Persia is? Let me explain to you why this is ridiculous and why this is so compelling. Persia, the closest part of Persia to me, I'm in Jerusalem right now, is 1,000 kilometers east. That means we share no border with them. Moreover, they're not Arabs. If you want to insult someone living in Iran, call him an Arab, and he will correct you very, very quickly and say, we're not Arabs here.
Mhm.
So Persia, Israel, except for that 12-day war, we have nothing to do with them. We have, conversely, just to contrast this, the Arabs we've had a lot of wars with, and we have land issues with Syria, the Golan Heights. We have land issues with Jordan, what's so-called West Bank, Judea and Samaria. We have no issues with them. They're not Arabs. In Tanakh, Yitzchak and Yishmael, the progenitors of our two nations, had a tenuous relationship. So it's understandable why in modern days that the Jews and the Arabs are having a difficult relationship. Now, we have a tradition, it's in the Torah, it's in the Talmud, that at the end of days, the Bnei Yishmael, we'll call them the Arabs, and the Jews will reunite again. We do have that tradition. But what's very critical is Persia doesn't make sense. Moreover, Persia was an empire that was not only not hostile to us, they were very benevolent to us. It was Cyrus the Great who
Right.
said to the Jews, go back. That means it makes no sense. I just, if I may, so the audience understands this. Recently, the Northeast was warned by meteorologists there's a massive snowstorm coming. This just happened a couple of weeks ago. So I'm in Israel, right? But I could go on the news and I could see that I have family back in the New York area, and they all know that there was a massive, unprecedented snowstorm that was going to smash New York, and they prepared for it. Now, the meteorologists, did they have prophecy? No. They were looking at satellite maps, information, imagery. I don't really know how this works, but they had information in front of them, and they were then able to extrapolate from it and project exactly what was going to happen to the greater New York area. And that's what happened. In contrast, Ezekiel, Zechariah, who lived in that period 2,100 years ago, there's nothing that would indicate to them that Persia would be a big problem. So I want you to understand how confident not only the Jews are, but the world is in our Tanakh and our holy words of our prophets. When they say Persia is going to be your implacable enemy, that wouldn't have made any sense in the ancient world. But now Iran is, of course, the head of the snake. Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, all of them are just proxies of Iran. So
Mhm.
this is not like we're extrapolating. This is not like they could have imagined this. No, and it's unfolding right now.
It's unbelievable.
Right. Right,
So,
and there's no like again. I want to keep reiterating. I don't know you. We don't know each other. I mean, I want to get to know you now, but like everybody feels the same way. This is not like some weirdo in Jerusalem is saying, the sky is falling. Every Rav, every Jew realizes that we're living in a historical time spiritually. That there's no parallel to what's happening now.
Purim, I mean, this Purim has been more symbolic than any Purim in my entire life. I mean, it's
Right,
unbelievable.
right,
We're celebrating Purim, and modern day Haman was just killed.
right,
It's crazy. It's absolutely
right.
nuts.
Right, right.
You
And
can't.
right. No,
What were we
you're
about to
not
say?
some religious fanatic. I mean, this is not like, right. Every one of us listening to the Megillah this past Purim was going, oh my God, we're living through a Purim right now.
It's insane. It's crazy. So something to switch. It's still on Mashiach discussion. AI, artificial intelligence, is making humongous leaps and bounds. I went and listened to several podcasts of AI gurus. I mean, they know everything about AI, and they're predicting that in the next few years, 3 to 5 years possibly, most jobs are going to be obsolete. Most human jobs are going to be taken over by AI. Does that also point to Mashiach? I mean, the idea that much of the world's industry will be taken over by computers?
See, my first instinct was my first instinct, the response was mildly sophomoric, and that's kind of self-serving for AI to be saying we're going to be taking over. But I want to just make this very clear to you. There's nothing that I've ever seen in Tanakh that has anything to do with that. So I'm pleading ignorance. In Tanakh, the world moves on. Now, in Tanakh, it's true that the nations will come to Eretz Yisrael. Isaiah 60 tells us they all are going to want to serve in the temple. They're going to be bringing offerings in the temple. But there's nothing about this in Tanakh, so I don't want to pretend that there is. Everything I've told you is explicitly in Tanakh, and I hope that what I've shared on air, that you viewers are going to be going through the Bible, and you can do that online and look this all up. It's very important for you to know this is very clearly in Tanakh, but the AI part is not in Tanakh, so I'm not equipped to answer that.
Right, right. It just seems so symbolic to me that if most industry is dead, humans are going to have to find other meaning. The governments will have to step in and provide basic necessities because I mean, there's a lot of things that are guaranteed to not exist. Drivers, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, that will be a thing of the past in the next few years. You have
Right.
self-driving cars, that's going to be a thing of the past.
Right. So in Tanakh, just to a point should be made, and that is the Mashiach, who is not as big a deal as the Messianic age, but he's mentioned. The world will be a theocracy, which means that there will be only one faith in the world. Let me tell you what is in Tanakh. The whole world will acknowledge the God of Israel. That's very important. And Mashiach, who is the descent of the house of David, is going to be king, or he's called a melech, king, explicitly, or a nasi, a prince. That means he is going to be the world leader. Now, the reason why you are very happy that you live in a not just a democracy, but the United States has a very robust democracy of a separation of powers, and you do not want to live in a theocracy. No way, and neither do I, because we don't trust anybody. We don't want to.
Right.
We don't want that connection. We're all very happy, even though the American system, which is brilliant and very robust, separation of powers, a constitution that's really bulletproof, very hard to make an amendment. I mean, it's a great system. Here in Israel, I could tell you that we envy your judicial system. We envy the idea that your president can choose a Supreme Court justice, and that has to be ratified by the judicial, by the legislative branch. It's just brilliant. The reason why you like it is you don't trust anybody. In the Messianic age, this is very important to the viewers now. This is Isaiah 11, verse 3 and 4, that the Mashiach will be a judge. He's not going to judge people after the sight of his eyes or the hearing of his ears, but Hashem is going to put a spirit upon him. He'll be a just person who gives haichacha, which means rebuke to the world. So just know that in the Messianic age, there will be all the world will recognize the Mashiach as the world leader, and they all will want him. And we will not have the issues. We will be petrified of such a system today, because that would sound like North Korea to us. In the Messianic age, we want that. So that I can tell you is explicitly in Tanakh.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I think in the Middle East, to a large extent, monarchies and theocracies are what rule. I mean,
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent, prioritizing democracy as the state of Israel presents issues. I think Israel needs to lead first as a Jewish state and then try to implement democracy as best it can, but it needs to prioritize the Jewish identity and the Jewish sovereignty, Jewish livelihood. Because you look at England, you look at countries in the West, they're trying to put democracy above anything else, and there are people and belief systems that are looking to use the democracy against democratic people. So sometimes it
Yeah.
doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Right. So here in Israel, people are very aware that we're living on a knife's edge. We're very aware of that. I could tell you that I'm not the spokesman for Israel. I should be, but I'm not. But people are taking our predicament very, very seriously, and we understand what's at stake right now. I just want to look at the larger picture. So right now, we know we have enemies that want to destroy us, and we know that right now, what stands between those who want to eradicate us and us is the God of Israel is behind it, as you pointed out. We're living through Purim again. That's the overarching feeling. That means tonight, in Israel, just so you know, you can put your phone on mute. You can put your phone on mute. The system here in Israel will override it and will blare to let you know that there's an incoming rocket. And that is then followed by a siren. And then you're going to enter a room exactly like this. And we're doing this constantly, less so in Jerusalem than in other cities. And there were rockets here in Jerusalem that unfortunately landed a couple of days ago, but they're much more interested in hitting cities that are all Jewish. So in the coastal areas like Tel Aviv, it's a very serious matter. But every one of us on Shabbos, we're walking around with a cell phone. Like, you would not walk around with a cell phone on Shabbos. We have it because we need that warning to get ourselves to have as much information as possible about how much time we have to get
Right.
to a bomb-proof room. Everything's at stake. Absolutely.
So, a few thoughts. What does Tanakh possibly say about the United States? Because there are still a lot of Americans now. There are still a lot of Americans now that are upset that the U.S. is involved in this war. They think that Jews and the Israelis are dragging them into this war. They're connecting to Epstein. They're connecting to we have AIPAC and this and that. There are people that I've even spoken to that are saying it's all a hoax, and we're being dragged into another war by Israel and the Jews, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, this is a very important question. It's a very important question. What would you say to those people?
I'm going to say something, and I know you're going to agree with me. It sounds presumptuous, but I know you will because this is so transparent. I have never met a person in my life who supports Israel, a Jew or Christian or even Muslim, who does not believe that Israel's interest is in America's interest. I have never in my life heard a Jew or a Christian say, "Oh, I think Israel needs to protect, but this has Israel's protection has nothing to do with the United States." On the contrary, take Marco Rubio. You should know exactly who he is, given that
Sure,
you're in
sure.
Florida. Okay, Marco Rubio is not Jewish; he's a Roman Catholic. Okay, he will say he's not in on this, right? Or the president, Donald J. Trump. These people are not Jewish. Your Secretary of Defense, he's not Jewish. He's a Baptist Christian. They will all tell you that Israel's security is vital to America's security, and they'll tell you that Iran is declaring death to America, the big Satan, death to Israel, the little Satan. So this is not like a Jewish thing taking over. Everybody who's in the know, except for those who think that the president of France is married to a man. So you do have these brilliant luminaries in the United States who think that Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk. It's the same people. You have a person in the United States who actually said that he's a fan of Stalin. Okay, Nick
Yep, Fuentes.
Fuentes.
Yep, yep.
Okay, do you know what you know? When these we have to just talk about tease out who we're talking about here. We're not talking about people who got it wrong, who thought that the Toronto Blue Jays would win the World Series, and it turned out that he didn't. So, and it was pretty close. Even though I'm not a sports guy, but no one could not notice that. Right? This is not like getting it wrong. Like, so let's talk about the character of these people. So we're talking about people who say, like Candace Owens, who said that if Hitler had just not spread beyond Germany, it would have been okay. That's the kind of person we're talking about. Tucker Carlson, who just said that Chabad is trying to angle it this whole war. So, Chabad. I mean,
Meanwhile, they're like the sweetest people in the world. It's the funniest
right.
thing.
So just understand, like these are the luminaries we're talking about. So we're talking about people who are complete wackos, who are virulent anti-Semites, who routinely launder people. That means they have people on who Dafka say, who specifically say, Tucker has had people have said that actually the villain of World War II is Winston Churchill rather than Adolf Hitler. I mean, just understand who we're talking about here. So you're saying that the biggest anti-Semites in America are saying things that are trying to portray the Jews in an unflattering light. Well, yeah, I'll say this to you, and I think you'll probably agree with me that before October 7th, we didn't see this. That means there were always crazy anti Semites. They were always there. David Duke was always there, but they were always on the fringe.
Right.
What has clearly occurred after October 7th is the middle has fallen out. So what's happened is that people have just split in two. So you have the isolationist Buchananites who are led by Tucker Carlson, a complete nutjob, virulent anti-Semite, who is so whacked out of his mind that even though he admits he knows nothing about Christianity and only read the Bible the first time in his life last year, he actually said on air, I hate Christian Zionists. That is unbelievable. Like, I have never heard, like, for example, I've never heard a Catholic, a normal, I mean, there's probably somebody drooling on themselves in some psych hospital. I've never heard a Catholic say, I hate Protestants. I've never
Mhm.
heard a Protestant, I hate Catholics. So this, just understand the level that we're talking about, the bar we're talking about here. We're talking about Candace Owens, who said that Israel murdered Charlie Kirk when we know there's a guy who's living with a transvestite who tragically murdered Charlie Kirk in the eyes of the whole world. And we all know this. I'm going to say this very clear. And if you're in America, I want you to listen to me very carefully. If Charlie Kirk had been speaking in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem, he'd still be alive today. He's not alive. He was murdered in the United States, not in Israel. Here he would be safe. Here Christians are safe and they can express their ideas and they're protected here in Israel. Not in Bethlehem, which is under the control of the Palestinian Authority because it's Area A. So I want to make that very, very clear. So you're right. That means these are the people, the conspiracy, that Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, God bless her, that Erica Kirk is responsible for the murder of the father of her two children? Is this really? And if people really are going to allow themselves to be influenced by a whack job, it's a tragedy because Candace is mercurial, temperamental. She used to be very pro-Israel with Ema on a necklace. She was totally different, but she got behind Kanye West. I don't know anything about his music, but unfortunately, he suffers from um, highs and lows. He's bipolar. He admits it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and he. It's not my genre music. So I couldn't name one song he's written. He probably is talented, but he's unfortunately mentally ill. He's
Right.
now said he's sorry, and I hope that stays with it. But she just got caught up in that spin. She has a husband who's an ultra traditionalist Catholic who's trouble for Jews. I'll get into it if you want, but it's not germane because she's out of her mind completely.
Right.
That Erica Kirk was part of a plot to murder the father of her children. I mean, Charlie Kirk was a beautiful man. He was like one of the most exciting things that happened in America, who headed the most influential part of the Republican Party. I mean, he really, that's the person. So you deserve, if Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes is your leader, good luck to you.
100%. When it comes to Erica Kirk, I mean, I highly, highly doubt she had any responsibility, but it's at the end of the day, there's always, if there's no evidence, then it's just Candace making a claim. It's really all it comes down to. I don't see that wouldn't be the conclusion most people would jump to.
Look, I'm not going to proclaim expertise in areas that I know, but they have the gun, they have the fingerprints, they have this. I mean, if there has been a case that there's a smoking gun, this is the one. But this will be adjudicated in a court in Utah. Not Candace has lost her mind completely. I mean, so much
Hmm.
so that when she said that Erica was involved in it, even when she said that Israel, first she said Israel was involved in Charlie's murder. Even then, other anti Semites got nervous. Like Dave Smith came out and attacked her because Dave Smith hates Israel. Now, I don't know why. He needs I don't, whatever it is, I don't understand anti Semitism. I don't think you do either. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Dave Smith, I think just comes from a place of weakness. It's kind of like a shtetl thing where he thinks that if he apologizes enough, he'll get sympathy. He,
I don't know. I'm not going to pretend it does not
uh,
make sense to me. He just hates Israel. That's very clear. That's the only thing I can say is he hates Israel. I mean, he actually has a problem with America removing the most dangerous weapon from the most dangerous country in the world that is calling for the death to America. So I don't buy any of it.
Well,
despise
it's an
Israel.
intellectual. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go on.
There's a genocide. Let me just make this clear. There's a genocide going on in Nigeria right now, okay? A genocide where nearly 8,000 Christians were murdered just now. It just happened. An absolute genocide. I don't hear a word. Like, no one cares about it. There's a civil war going on in Sudan. Let me say this to the Sudanese. No one's protesting for you. If you want Americans to come to your side, go to war with Israel, and Dave Smith will be all over it supporting you.
Yeah, for sure. As
You
soon as
know,
if Sudan was fighting with
yeah,
this, yeah, oh yeah,
yeah. So let me just give all you guys who advice who are involved. According to the State Department right now, there are 27 wars going on in the United States. If you want Dave Smith to come to your side, just go to war with Israel, and Dave Smith, like Iran just murdered. Now we don't know the number. Is it 30,000 people were just murdered? Is it 80,000 people in Iran that was just murdered who were protesting there? I don't know what the number is. It'll come out. It's something horrible. But somehow at Columbia University, this is not a reason for somehow Dave Smith doesn't have a problem with this, and not a peep, not a wimp, not a cry. I'm not
yeah,
look, I'm not a politics guy, but do you know how much nail polish remover you have to inhale to believe this? So we all know what's going on, what's happening here. You have to like totally dissolve your brain to believe that this is not an issue of people who just despise Israel. I don't want to get into their mind. Let them get into my head. They have a deep hatred for Israel. That's the way it is. We are always a highly polarizing person. You know, we could do this thought experiment as an example. If
mm,
we went on the streets of, like, you're a YouTuber, if you went on the streets of Antwerp, of Zurich,
Belgium.
of
Uh,
London, of of San Francisco, L.A., New York, Chicago, and we asked people you stood there and you asked people the following question. The only in this thought experiment, the only rule is that the person has to really tell the truth. And you ask people, what do you think about the Jews? Or what do you think about Israel? Okay. So the only rule is they actually have to tell the truth because it's not socially acceptable to say, I hate Jews, because no one will admit to it. So you and I know that people would say, I hate the Jews or I love the Jews. Hopefully it's not in that order. But it's not going to be, I have no opinion about the Jews. And to illustrate how important this thought experiment is, you and I, we don't know each other. But if I asked you, what do you think about the most successful race on the planet, the Chinese? I'm sure I feel some sense of confidence that you wouldn't have a very strong opinion about it. You might have a favorable view of the Chinese, but you're not going to go, I hate the Chinese, I'm assuming, or I love the Chinese. What do you think of Korea? Or what do you think of Japan? These are very large countries, very successful races, and you probably don't have a very strong opinion. Most people don't. But the
mhm.
Jews, one quarter, 1% of the world, and people either hate us or love us. And in fact, go back to Tanakh. God tells us that I'll bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. Well, what about all the people in the middle? Well, the answer is there is nobody in the middle. Everyone has a very strong opinion about the Jews.
So that'll always be. That's, I guess, our destiny.
No, the destiny is that the world will be saved. The destiny is that the enemies of Israel will be destroyed. We might say, the hell with the Europeans. We might. I don't know. But God is doing everything he can to draw out people to love Israel. I'll tell you something interesting. So I'm on air like almost every day. People often call in. And there are many people who told me that they really didn't care. There are many Jews who told me they didn't care about their Judaism. But after October 7th, there are people who said, now I take my faith very, very seriously. And there are non-Jews who say, now I love Israel. I really didn't think about it. Or there are people who say, now I really hate Israel. So it's interesting that this massive cataclysmic event that they'll be speaking about in 1,000 years from now, that literally just pushed the middle out, where people have a very strong feeling and it had a very strong of impact on us, on the Jewish people. I mean, you and I know people who weren't as involved in their faith prior to October 7th who now have very strong feelings about their faith. I mean, people have been changed. That means none of us will ever be the same. Nothing will ever be the same again. And what I'm saying is absolutely axiomatic. So, and that's what Tanakh says. Tanakh says that will only be enemies of Israel or those who stand by Israel. God wants to bless people. So America will be saved. All nations will be saved if they bless Israel, of course.
Okay, so the United States won't eventually become an enemy? That's not what it says?
No, there's nothing like that. Now, so here you're going into a very difficult issue when you talk about the United States. So I'm going to first say that I can't, like, everything I've said to you now is demonstrable. So I'll tell you, like, your ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, who was the 14th governor of Arkansas. He was a presidential candidate. He's a very bright guy. He believes, and he's not Jewish, he's an ordained Christian minister, he's an ordained Southern Baptist minister. He believes that America will be blessed if it blesses Israel, and God forbid, the other way. So, people who know the Hebrew Bible, who care about it, understand, and you don't have to be Jewish for this, because I'm choosing someone who's an ordained Southern Baptist minister. He's not Jewish in any way.
Right.
He and I have very different views about religion. There's some things we agree on, but I want to steelman
Do
this.
you
I don't want
speak do
to.
you speak to him? Have you spoken to him
I've
before?
given him. I haven't spoken to him in quite a few years. I gave him a tour of Israel by helicopter.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever flown over Israel. It's really an amazing thing, but
I haven't.
it's mind blowing because like we went like whatever it was 2,000 feet up. I don't know exactly what it is, but I literally was in the helicopter and I was giving him a guided tour of Israel, and I said, "Look to the left. You can see that. That's the sea. Look to the right. You see that. That's the river." And he was going, "Oh wow," because this is a very tiny place. This whole country
He
is
was
just.
literally able to see the entire country
Yes,
just
yes. From a helicopter, you could see when they took river to sea, you could see that on a helicopter. You don't have to go that high up. It's just you river to sea. There's the sea. There's the river, and then if the sea is on your left, then Lebanon is straight ahead of you with Syria, and Egypt or Sinai is behind you. This is all really simple, right? We were sitting there, and he was going. I was here, he was here. We had our headphones on in the helicopter, and I was just showing him all the cities, and he understood the complexity of Israel's predicament. I mean, there are people own places of land in Texas that are much larger than the state of Israel. There are ranches in Arkansas that are larger than the whole state of Israel. I mean, he
insane, yeah.
was just flabbergasted of what Israel is. When we talk about a knife's edge, I mean, literally, this country could be cut in half so easily. And if Israel would go back to the Green Line, which means the ceasefire line of 1948, Israel would be finished. The,
Yeah.
nothing. He Now he's somebody who is a Christian Zionist. I want to make this point. So it's not like he's a Jew and therefore he's like pro-Jew or something. He's a Christian. He believes in Christianity. He believes everyone should be a Christian. I mean this in a positive. So I'm not I'm not choosing Ben Shapiro, who lives in Florida. I'm not picking him. I'm taking a Christian. He believes, and he's right. And the reason he's right is he's basing it on Tanakh, that the Jews would return. The book of Amos ends, Amos chapter 9, verse 14 and 15. I encourage you, the viewer, to read it, that the Jews would return back to their land and they would never be removed again. Please, you don't even memorize these numbers, just Amos, last two verses. Read Ezekiel 36. These are not books that whitewash the Jews. These are not books
So
that
we're not.
just.
So according to this, we're not getting kicked out again. This is
Oh
the
no,
final.
never, never. Please, I beg you, I'll say it. Amos 9, 14, 15. That's how the book ends. The Jews will be planted in the land of Israel, land will give forth its fruit, and you will never be uprooted again. That means if you're looking at Tanakh, Israel has a covenant with God that's eternal. And in this view, in the view of Tanakh, America's survival, and this is Huckabee's view, so I'm very much, America's survival depends on it blessing Israel. It happens to be strategically, American leaders believe that Israel's survival is vital to U.S. interests. So this is not some like weird idea that only hyper-religious people have.
Right.
This is a view that people have that if Israel were to fall, that Israel is what stands between the East and the United States. Israel is America's, barrier wall. This is a consensus view of America. This is what
Very true. Very true.
Ronald Reagan wasn't Jewish. He was a devout Christian. George W. Bush was a devout Methodist. They believe this. So this is not like some weird idea that you only hear in Chabad or something. This is the consensus. Now, there are anti-Semites like Pat Buchanan who still believe in not alive, and he is a virulent anti-Semite, and he's what's called a paleo-conservative. He hates Israel. He's the one who
Right.
fought for Demyanjuk. I mean, he's an isolationist. He worked for CNN in Crossfire in the 1990s. He hated Israel. He still does. Tucker Carlson took over his job at Crossfire as being the conservative. So one isolationist moves to the next isolationist. So it's important for people to understand this is not like we're like sort of just taking two people and slamming them together. Tucker Carlson took over Pat Buchanan. Not only did he do that on CNN in Crossfire, which was a very successful program, he's doing that now in the public arena, and Fox fired him after 15 years at Fox. He's free to do what he wants, and be very clear. I don't want to, because people talk about he's being paid by Qatar, and it's very likely the case. I don't have the receipts. I don't know. I presume so, but I assure you, he's an ideologue. That means he hates Israel, and he wants Israel's destruction. He was pleading that that Trump not take out Iran's nuclear reactor when just lost his mind. But he is an ideologue. I don't know about Megyn Kelly. I really don't know what goes on in her head. I don't know if Candace has a head because she sounds insane to me. I don't know. But Tucker takes very seriously. He's very well connected to the White House. He has a son that's very, very connected to the White House, and he really is an ideologue. His guiding principle is the destruction of Israel. Please take him seriously, and I encourage people to stop talking about him in terms of he's on the take with Qatar, which is very likely the case, I guess. But Qatar is not offering you money or me money. Okay, they're if they are paying him, which I feel fairly confident they are. They're paying him because he's predisposed to this. He's very talented. He's very skilled. He's been in broadcasting for more than a quarter of a century. He's very good at what he does. He's very attractive. He's an excellent communicator. He's a formidable enemy of not only Israel but of America, because everything he's doing is putting America at risk.
So interesting. I do have about 5 minutes, and then I have to hop off. And I wish I could do. I really hope we can get on another episode very soon. Uh, when it comes to Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and these other influencers, Nick Fuentes, for example, these people have a lot of reach, a tremendous amount of reach,
Yeah.
tremendous. Do you think that there's a chance that someone like this can become president, whether it's after Trump or a few terms after Trump?
Tucker can. I mean, it's not like theoretical. Like Nick Fuentes can't. Not by the Constitution, of course he can. He when I don't know if he's over 35 or not, but he was
No,
born in the United States,
no,
so he's
he's
not.
not over
So
30.
no, Tucker literally can be president of the United States. I mean, literally, that literally can happen. Um, what is going to happen is they are going to save us from ourselves, which always happens. Our enemies always save us from ourselves. So what's going to happen is that Candace is just going to push it too much, and she's doing it already. So she's imploding. So she's sort of this thing that she's very talented. In front of the camera, there is no one who's better in front of the camera, in front of a mic than her. It's a tragedy because she used to be normal. She was a unicorn. She was just a fabulous conservative, a woman who just was brilliant, and then she lost it. But she's going to self-destruct. She's doing that now. Tucker is make. I don't want to talk too much because I don't want to give him advice, but Tucker is destroying himself. So he's actually doing the work for us because he's making a lot of strategic mistakes right now. By attacking Trump, he's making enormous mistakes. Right now, there's a midterm election coming in the United States. I'll just do this. I don't want to talk
Okay.
about this too much. Just say that there's a midterm election right now, and right now the Republicans have to keep the party together, although it's split. And they cannot allow the vote in midterm to go the other direction, or there are problems. So we'll leave it there. But all these people are going to destroy themselves. I'll leave it to them.
Seems that way too. It seems that way too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Rabbi, like I said, I hope we can do it. We can hop on another one soon. It's been an absolute pleasure. Your takes on what's to come are fascinating, and I can't help but feel it. It's very symbolic. I'm really I'm just wondering what's going to happen in the next week, next few
Man.
weeks, next few months. We've all been on the edge of our seat. There's been so much going on, and so, but
And let me advise for anybody who wants to know what's going to happen, I just do this, please, because we have a book. It's a holy book. It really is. Just do this. Read the last. All I ask for you, the viewer, to do is the following. Just do this, please. Like, don't read my books. I'm not promoting my books. Don't send me. I'm not asking for anything. I would encourage you, however, to read the last passage of the book of Ezekiel 39. It means from 21 to 29. That's all you have to do. So if you have a moment for the God of Israel, if you think that there might be a God out there that's governing everything, just read the last, essentially 10 verses of Ezekiel 39, which is the war of Gog and Magog. That's the context. And you'll see exactly what's going to happen. I beg you, the viewer, don't listen to Tovia. I'm not important here. I'm really not. All I do is convey what it says in the text. I'm not going to pretend to know something I don't know, like I don't know anything about AI. I do know something about the God of Israel, and that is the Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. He doesn't like, he lo yadamu linachem. He's not a man that he'll change his mind. So I trust the God of Israel. I trust the scripture of Israel. And I beg you, the viewer, open up your Bible now. You can do it on your browser. And I don't care what translation you use. You don't need a commentary. Please go to Ezekiel 39, verse 21, and just read it through to the end. It's very short, and you'll know exactly what is about to happen. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
of course, such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Really amazing.
Always. Shalom.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Rabbi Tovia Singer and I. Of course, as always, make sure to subscribe, smash the like button, leave your comments. Follow what would be the best handle to
Oh,
reach
just my
out?
name, Tovia Singer, just the YouTube channel. Thank you for that. And it's really,
Yes.
I just want to just say this for our viewers. So I have a large YouTube channel, you do as well. It's very important that when you watch our shows, it's very important for the algorithm to, if you want this kind of material to get out there, to like it, to subscribe, and to share. It's very important, if you believe it. They do not watch either of our shows and just not like it, because the liking is extremely important to the algorithm and to the spread of it. And thank you very much. It's for having me on, and please God, we'll see the full redemption quickly in our time. Shalom.
Amen. Amen. All right, guys. I will hopefully see you in the next one. Until next time, peace.